welcome back to another edition of Veterans Forum. My name is Rebecca Jennings. I'm the Veterans Agent for the town of North Attleboro and Plainville. And today we have some guests on that are going to talk about a few things that you would find very interesting and I hope is going to be very beneficial for you and your family. So today we're going to be talking about planning ahead as we get older. So we're just going to dive right into it. I'm going to introduce Danielle Masters, and you have, it looks like, a lot of different degrees and certifications.
Yep. So I'm Daniela Masters. I am a licensed independent clinical social worker as well as a certified care manager, and I run the company called Aging Well Advocates. Okay. So we work with elders and their families in assisting them in navigating the challenges of the aging process. As people age, they are aging, they are getting much, much older, and they're requiring more assistance because of that. So I work primarily in the continuum of care. So I think that people have heard that terminology a lot, but I don't know if people really know what that entails. So the continuum of care goes from living alone independently in your home to living alone with assistance coming into your home. There are also adult day health programs out there and senior centers or councils on aging where they have programs for elders to go when they need some more structure, some more routine in their life, but are still able to live at home.
Okay.
There are, then you kind of move up that continuum, and then you could potentially look at rest home level of care. There are not a significant amount of rest homes any longer, but there are some out there that exist. The next area in terms of the continuum of care would be an assisted living facility. And I think that many people have heard about assisted living facilities, but I don't think it is well known what services are provided in assisted living facilities.
Now, don't they vary from assisted living to assisted living?
They do.
Okay.
They do. Not significantly, but for the most part, they all provide certain services. One of the main things in Massachusetts is assisted livings are not legally allowed to give medications to clients, where in other states they can do so.
I didn't realize that.
They cannot actually give it, they can remind them. They can remind them to take their medication. They can assist them in taking their medication. They can't physically give it to them.
Okay.
So that's, but there are a number of different facilities out there that range in price anywhere from about $3,500 up to $6,000 a month. So there is a range out there. But that is a very big area right now where people are, more and more are being built in hopes that as the elders get older, that would be a nice community for them. After that, you're looking at a long-term care facility in terms of that continuum of care. And within that long-term care facility, oftentimes hospice can be brought in, or palliative care, where we talk about end of life. And I know that Jay is going to speak a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to have Jay speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so with the continuum of care, what an aging life care manager really does is we go in and we assess the situation in the home environment with the elder as well as their family members. And we look at a number of different areas that relate to that elder in terms of what the main objective is: keeping them safe and keeping them at the highest level of functioning so that they have the best quality of life that they can get. So that's always the objective. So typically I work with a number of different services in the community, anywhere from moving companies, realtors when they need to sell their homes. I've had to sell a car before for a client, to attorneys to make sure that their legal paperwork is in order, as well
And we're
as
going to get into that in just a minute.
as well as their financial planning is in order. So that's where Deb comes into play. So overall, I think as it is much more challenging. It is much more challenging as your loved ones are getting older, and you have your own family, you have your children to deal with, your career, and it can become very, very overwhelming and stressful.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So there are ways to get some assistance out there. You just need to know how that system works, which is very difficult.
And you help navigate through the system.
We help navigate through the system. We give them options. So not only do we try to deal with the crisis at hand, but what I really try to do is to set up long-term plans with them so that even though this crisis is handled, another one most likely will be coming down the road. So let's plan now for that so that it's not going to make us crazy when it comes upon us again.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very rewarding. It really is. It's really nice to work with the elders with the main focus being on their quality of life.
Well, so now that we have kind of a handle on what you do, our next guest is an attorney named Deborah Blum at Shore, and she is going to kind of dive into another piece that I think some people kind of overlook and really don't get a good understanding of it.
Okay. So I'm Deborah Blum Shore. I'm an elder law and estate planning attorney. I'm one of the owners of the Shore Law Firm in Attleboro. And one of the questions that we get a lot is, well, what is an elder law attorney? I looked up once and discovered that there are a terrifying number of attorneys in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There's about 55,000 currently practicing.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty many. But there are only about 500 of us in the entire state who focus our practices solely on elder law, correct. And so when you're younger, planning is focused on protecting yourself, ideally, in ways that I'll talk about in a minute. And planning for your estate, sometimes planning for who's going to take your children if, God forbid, you died when they were still young.
Yeah.
A lot of estate planning when you're younger is focused on tax planning as well. But as you get older, your children are grown, taxes are still an issue, but often become less of an issue because now the focus is on oh no, I might need a nursing home, I need some care. My health is changing, my family is evolving, I have somebody with special needs that I need to plan for. How do I address these new concerns? And that's where elder law attorneys come in. So all of us are estate planners, but not all estate planners are elder law attorneys. And so our focus is, okay, now that you're older, which is 60-ish plus,
Okay.
now that you're getting older and your focus is shifting, we do our planning through the lens of someday you might need care. Maybe you need care right now. What can we do to make sure that when that need arises, you're all set up so you can access the care and the kinds of resources that you might need to have? So we look at somebody's family structure, we look at their health, we look at, who's who? Who are the players in somebody's life? Do you have children? Do you have 12 children? Do you have an only child? Are you married? Are you not? Where do you live? What are your financial resources? And we try every single family is different. And so we try to help to create the plan that's going to best use the resources that each individual family has and get them the best care that they can. A large part of our practice is counseling about the opportunities that are out there. And another way that elder law attorneys are different or special or unique or whatever is that all of us have really strong networks of people, both in the financial world on the one hand and the healthcare world on the other. And so a lot of times we end up being that team leader, that facilitator. If you don't have a care manager yet, then let me introduce you to Daniela.
Gotcha.
You need to do your funeral planning. You have questions about end-of-life issues. Let me introduce you to Jay. Let's bring in your accountant. You don't have one, let me introduce you to one. You want to sell your house, we have the people in the real estate world, because all of us bring pieces of what somebody's future is going to be.
And I imagine there's got to be a ton of pieces, and they're all customized to the individual and their family.
And so if you think about it, if somebody's just starting that journey, your head explodes, because where do you start? Who do you call first? Like oh my God, there's so many things to do. I don't know where to begin. I'm not going to do anything. And so one of our messages is, okay, the sooner you start to plan, the more options you're going to have. It's never too late. So don't ever let anybody feel like, oh God, I can't do anything because it's too late. But if you be proactive and you get started at the beginning of a journey.
Usually, what are you saying, about in their 60s is when they should probably start?
Just to start thinking about it. And then hopefully you're going to be well for decades to come, and it won't be an issue. But if it is, you have planned. You've made sure that you've protected yourself with durable powers of attorney and healthcare proxies and living wills and HIPAA privacy releases that are going to let people help you. If a time comes when you cannot help yourself, you have already chosen who will be your helpers, and we don't have to stop everything and run into a courtroom to get a judge to pick who's going to help you.
Gotcha.
Because most people do want to call the shots. Most people want to make their own choices, and we can help them do that. And then most importantly, the other part that we do is help people access the government programs through the VA and through Medicaid, Mass Health, which help people pay for all of the different kinds of services that are out there. And all of those are eligibility programs, so you need to apply for them, you need to become financially eligible, and that's a large part also of what elder law attorneys do, is to help people be able to get benefits through those programs.
Yeah, I mean, in our office, we process quite a bit of aid and attendance packages through our office, both for Plainville and North Attleboro. And the pretty common thing that we run into with these daughters and sons and things like that is they really didn't have a plan. The mom and dad didn't have a plan. Now the mom or dad are in their 80s, possibly 90s, and they have no idea what their wishes, what they're supposed to be, and then the funeral arrangements come, and then they're thrown back because they had no idea. Maybe dad didn't want to be buried and born, and maybe mom wanted to be, with her sister and somewhere else. So these are all topics that are very important to our seniors.
And also, if you think about it, all of these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Things are going to change. We are going to die. Hopefully not for a long time again, but it is at some point going to happen. And so the law has a plan for us. It's all in the law books. If we don't choose ourselves, if we don't let our wishes be known, things will still happen. Our remains need to be put somewhere. If we have wishes of where that is, we should say so.
I guess I had one question so do the elder laws vary from state to state, or are they all across the board the same?
The concepts are the same everywhere.
Okay.
Every state has its own laws.
Okay.
The programs like VA benefits and Medicaid benefits are ultimately federal programs.
Okay.
Federal law dictates the whole country. So there are no specific state laws for aid and attendance, for example.
Gotcha.
But Medicaid, it's a federal program, but each state puts in substantial portions of their state budget. And so the states each have their own regulations.
Okay.
They have to be subject to those federal laws, but every state does its own thing. So if somebody moves from state to state, we want to make sure that they're working with an elder law attorney in the state they are living. Even with Rhode Island. There's different rules in Rhode Island than there are in Massachusetts.
We're going to give you your phone number, all of your phone numbers and contact information at the end of the show, but how does one person go about accessing you? How do they find you in the book of what would you say 50,000 50,000 lawyers?
Internet, increasingly people are searching, but a lot of our work specifically is through referrals.
Okay.
Again, because whichever one of us somebody calls first, even if you don't know the other ones, we will get you connected with the other ones.
Okay.
And so we're always all referring to each other. And lawyers refer to each other also all the time. I get many, many new clients from other lawyers because, again, not everybody does what we do. And I'm regularly sending other people to other people as well.
And many people don't even know that an elder attorney exists. They don't realize that there is a specialty, that they look at it slightly differently through the lens of what needs to be done for the aging process. Many, many people that I speak to, when I bring up an elder attorney, they're like, I've never heard of that. So
We're really social workers in disguise, I think, is
so.
really a way to really describe elder law. It's a lot of social work. It's a lot of helping the family dynamic.
Right, right. All right, so now that we got these two pieces, there's a third piece that I have had Jay on my show before, and he's phenomenal. He also has his own show here in North TV, which I hear is very phenomenal too. So Jay, just kind of dive into how you partner with these folks over here and what you do to provide services to our elder.
Happily. So as you know, I'm Jay Elias. I'm an attorney also. I'm the general legal counsel at Dyer Lake Funeral Home in North Attleboro. And my role there is, in addition to being a community service, is to be a resource for the families that come there. There's no cost. It's a general guide for them, because whether or not they're pre-planning, as these individuals would encourage them to do, or someone has already passed away, and they have a laundry list of questions that they have because they haven't done what these two individuals have suggested that they do.
Right.
The burden on families who are making funeral arrangements, let's say after someone has passed away, not only to make the funeral arrangements when they're not quite sure what mom or dad would have wanted, but the emotions that are involved, the dynamics of family. Sister wants that, brother says mom wanted this. What did dad want? We don't know. The benefits and the beauty of pre-planning, of putting their thoughts in writing, are phenomenal, because when someone has passed away, there's such emotion. There's whether or not it's grief, whether or not it's unexpected death, whether or not it's a relief after someone's been ill for a long time, whatever it may be. There are emotional decisions, and there are rational, if you will, decisions. And without the benefit of having thought it through and planned it through, emotions will prevail. And you usually don't want to make life's decisions based on emotions. The most beneficial thing someone can do is to pre-plan, and there's no cost involved. You can sit down with the funeral director. I'm not a funeral director. You sit down with the funeral director and you make known your wishes. And a large part of what Debbie does in her job is document things. And that's what a pre-plan does. It documents things, but there's no cost associated unless you say, I want to reserve X number of dollars, I want to put aside this money, maybe for planning purposes, so that it's not in my estate. I'm planning now for 20 years out. I know that that money is not going to be counted, let's say, by whatever the state agency may require to look at your assets. Or you say, I just want to put my thoughts in writing and I don't want to put any money down. The beauty of pre-planning is it's just like with a healthcare power of attorney or living wills. It's the individual's choice. It's their decision. It's what they want. There doesn't ever have to be a dispute among family, or if there are no children or there's no spouse, then you're leaving it to whom to decide. So putting in thoughts. Putting your, and I'm sure Debbie would encourage, and she does all of her clients, you don't want to put your funeral wishes in your will.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Well, a will is not something that's immediately accessed when someone dies. They may turn to the will, but a funeral, there are decisions that have to be made imminently, immediately. And so generally you don't want to put all of your funeral wishes in the will that may be locked in a safe deposit box someplace or at the lawyer's office, or is it fair to say it's something that you want to be immediately accessible. So that's one misconception, by the way, that we try and correct people about. Speaking on what Debbie also referenced, some of these documents that she helps to create, living will, power of attorney for health care, for example. A lot of times families will come to us after someone has passed away and they'll say, I'm my mother's power of attorney. I'm here to do X, Y, and Z. I have her checkbook and I have her authority. Well, Mom passed away yesterday. As you would so aptly say, you go through a certain powers of attorney evaporate at the moment of someone's passing. A power of attorney no longer has any power the moment someone has died.
Because you can't be someone who has now passed away.
So you can't step into their shoes because they're not there anymore. So when someone says, I have my mother's financial power of attorney or healthcare power of proxy, it's meaningless after someone has died. So, and using their checkbook after the fact, well, that's not something that's, you know, there's no one, it's not appropriate any longer. And so decisions need to be made in advance, working collectively, collaboratively, pre-planning, making sure, for example, when someone comes in, it's another terrible thing is when they say, you know, Dad had life insurance, it'll take care of everything. It'll take care of the bills, Mom will be set for life, the funeral can be paid for. Well, when's the last time anybody checked to see if the life insurance was still active? Gee, it lapsed when he turned 80. Or, you know, it was a term policy and the term is expired. Or no one's been paying the premiums. Has anybody checked to see? So there's simple things people can do now. Pre-plan, consult experts, make sure life insurance is in force, make sure that people have access to documents that need to be immediately available. So we're there as a guide. We're there to try and, at Dyer Lake, to try and help lighten the burden. We love working with people who help families make decisions in advance. That's the whole key. And it's not about money. It's about making decisions. It's, you know, your voice, your choice, your life. Make those decisions yourself. So that's what we do.
And to just pick up on what Jay just said, that none of this has to do with how much money you have or don't have.
Okay.
Because I think all of us have worked with families who are very affluent and also people on the other end of the spectrum who have very little. But all of the emotional issues and the care needs and the need to express your own wishes and the issues that every person faces are the same regardless of what's in your wallet. And we want to try to make sure that, again, regardless of what you have, that your wishes are known and your wishes are honored.
An estate, when someone hears the expression estate planning, for example, estate doesn't mean
Dollars.
this large, beautiful pastoral estate with millions of dollars. An estate is what you have that's yours, that you own, that's in your name. That's your estate. It could be $1,000, it could be $1 million. And I think that there's a misconception that when someone says you should talk to an attorney or estate plan or even plan your funeral, it doesn't matter what the dollar amount is. Planning can be done for an estate, for any purpose, at any level. There are options at every level. And that's a genuine misconception. So.
It really comes down to giving everyone as much independence and as much control in their lives as much as possible. for the rest of their lives. So although I think it's super scary for individuals to think about making funeral arrangements, people don't, when I mention that, they're like, I haven't thought about that. They're nervous about it, and I understand that. But as Debbie said, unfortunately, it is inevitable. And the more you can communicate, the more you can put in documentation when the crises arise, when end of life is near, you will have a lot less stress in your life. There'll be more calm, and you will know that your loved one is getting what they want.
And we actually have for our firm that part of our tagline is you're planning for life. That's what estate planning is. That's what all of this planning is. You're planning for what do you want your life to be. And let's see what we can do to make that happen.
Begin a conversation with either your family or someone in whom you have a great deal of trust. Could just be a close friend if you don't have family. Begin a conversation of what your wishes are. That's the first step, is before you consult anybody, you've got to start to communicate and verbalize to those near and dear to you. Communicate your wishes. Put down in writing your wishes. Sometimes, just keeping a pad by your bed at night, and you wake up in the middle of the night and you think about things, just write down questions so that when you do consult one of us, you have a list of questions that's accumulated over the course of maybe a couple of months. Communication is something I would encourage everybody to start to do, and there's no expense involved in that either.
And I guess I would say that often, first of all, I'm a big fan of DIY, so do it yourself. There are many, many areas of one's life where that's actually really fun.
Yeah.
And that can be great, and it's a wonderful way to save money and go for it. There's many, many areas. This is not one. And so estate planning, long-term care planning, many people do try to do it on their own. And the problem with that is that they think they're good, and unfortunately they're not going to find out that they're not until it's too late. And then we have to try to fix the problem, which ends up typically costing more than had we just worked together in the first place. And so often people can ultimately save tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars by spending a little bit of time with a lawyer, by spending a little bit of time with any of us up front. We can potentially save them years of angst and literally hundreds of thousands of dollars by getting together in the beginning. And so it isn't one of the penny wise, pound foolish situations. We really do encourage people, even if you just spend an hour with us, we promise you're going to get the value of that hour. And we'll help guide you to your next step.
Right.
Absolutely.
And sometimes people are not ready when they're not ready, but they have some information, and then maybe 6 months later they'll say, "Oh my gosh, now I see it all," and that's good. But you need that beginning piece to start to understand what my options are. What are some of the steps that I really need to take now, and not wait?
I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I know that the folks that are watching this right now certainly enjoyed listening to everything you guys had to say. Very informative. And we're hoping that when we put up the phone number, that folks will be able to reach out to you so they can start making that plan. Great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I want to thank you for joining us today on Veterans Forum. And until next time, I will see you soon, and have a great day.